But good afternoon. Welcome to the April 19th Kiwanis Club of Birmingham meeting and the 2022 Youth of the Year Awards at the Harbert Center. A special welcome to our 6 Youth of the Year scholars, their family and friends. It was a pleasure to walk around and start to get to know y'all, and we can't wait to celebrate you today. So with that, I'd like to invite Dr. Tim Mitchell to give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
A prayer for youth. We are grateful for the opportunity to watch our youth grow into meaningful lives, our sons and daughters, our nieces and nephews, our grandchildren, and our neighbors' children. We teach them, but we also learn from them because they live with half a mind in the future that they can imagine better than we can. Today, we celebrate Ariana, Avery, Bradley, Megan, Phoebe, and Sydney, as well as their parents, teachers, and mentors. We look to each of them to lead lives of character and meaning with courage and confidence. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Tim. I'd now like to call Secretary Darlene Wilson to the podium for announcements.
Thanks, President Davis. Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to recognize our guests today. So when I read your name, please stand up and briefly introduce your guest. Tim Mitchell.
So I'd like to introduce Marty Mitchell, who's seated over there. This will be his 63rd year in advertising. He had 71 ads out this year. Maybe in the past, you've heard of the City Never Sleeps for Citibank, I Love New York, or No One Belongs Here More Than You for the State of Israel. And he's also my dad, which is why I read from notes.
Dr. Anthony C. Hood. Martha Underwood. Welcome. Rick Swagler. Welcome. Lee Davis.
I'd like to introduce Kimberly Jackson. You've seen, and she is one of the leaders at Alabama Power Company, and she serves the Birmingham division.
Welcome. We do have 2 club guests as well. Dr. Spencer Horn, who is Chief of Staff, Birmingham City Schools. Welcome. We also have Ryland Dempsey, Governor Key Club. I have a guest as well, Sierra Belser. She's with Excelsior Staffing, and welcome. We'd also like to welcome our scholars, Ariana Collin, Sydney Cook, Bodie Gentry, Megan Goyle, Avery Hamrick, Bradley Seals, and their family and friends. As a co-chair of the Kiwanis Connect Committee, I want to personally invite all of you to Cahaba Bruin on Thursday, April 28th from 4:30 to 7 p.m. for a casual drop-in after hours networking event. So please mark your calendar. And I also want you to share your Kiwanis pride by pre-ordering a Kiwanis t-shirt in the lobby for $15. Shirts will be available at the May 10th annual meeting. It's a great time to place your order and come to the May 10th meeting to pick up your t-shirt. Y'all get to hear me say it again. We need a lot of y'all here on May 10th. So 1/3 of our membership, please. Deadline for your order is on Thursday. And again, we need you here on May 10th to vote on our bylaws and to elect our new officers. We'll make it fun by starting our club's 105th birthday celebrations a little early. So please join us. Mark your calendars. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Secretary Wilson. I'd now like to introduce everyone seated at the head table. Please stand when I say your name and remain standing until everyone is introduced. President of the Alabama School of Fine Arts and a newer member who led today's invocation, Dr. Tim Mitchell. Youth of the Year Co-Chair, Shannon Miller. Managing Principal of Ram Firm and Club Secretary, Darlene Wilson. Today's speaker, former U.S. Senator and the 1972 Kiwanis Club Birmingham Youth of the Year Scholar, Doug Jones.
Yes, I'm old.
Partner of John Saxon PC, Birmingham Business Hall of Fame Committee member and past Secretary, John Saxon. I also want to recognize Birmingham Bar Executive Director and our other Youth of the Year Co-Chair, Jennifer Bittner. Right. So Jennifer and Shannon, I invite you to the stage for the 2022 Youth of the Year Awards. And while Jennifer's coming to join Shannon, these two women are phenomenal. I have known them for, well, not quite 50 years, but close. And anything they do exceptionally and with love and care. And I know how much heart and passion and time they put into this. So with that, Jennifer and Shannon, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon. Yes, so this is my favorite part of being in Kiwanis. So since 1970, the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham has awarded more than $250,000 to graduating high school seniors in Jefferson and Shelby counties. This year, we had the largest pool of applicants with more than 70 scholars. And today we're honoring 6 students who truly exemplify scholarship, citizenship, service, and leadership. So just for logistics, scholars, when you can make your way up to the podium when we announce your name and your video plays. And obviously it is a lot better to see a video than me yammering on about somebody, but probably most importantly, for the families at the table, it is a live check in your child's hand that I'm handing to them. They still make those. So there's no Venmo today. So, okay, the first up is Sydney Cook.
My name is Sydney Cook. I go to school at Ramsey High School, and I am a language student. I am in the IB program. I am also a College First Foundation scholar. That's where I kind of learn the college admissions process and get assistance through it. I'm involved in a couple of activities such as marching band and concert band, academic goal team, Key Club, and National Honor Society. But I'm also just grateful because this is going to help me with my college career, and as somebody who wants to go past undergrad into graduate school and law school, this is just a great first start for me. I plan on attending Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and I plan on majoring in either communications, urban studies and planning, or computer science.
All right, great. Congratulations, Sydney, and notice the Key Club. All right, next up, we have Avery Hamrick.
Hello, my name is Avery Hamrick. I'm 17 years old and I'm currently a senior at Corner High School in Dora, Alabama. After I graduate high school, I plan on attending the University of South Alabama in Mobile as a pre-nursing major. Because of my dual enrollment hours that I have earned at Bell State Community College throughout my high school years, I have already been accepted into South College of Nursing. I'm heavily involved on campus here at Corner. I'm in HOSA, Sports Medicine, Beta Club, National Honor Society. I'm president of the FCCLA chapter here at Corner, and I have done many other volunteer activities and community service projects all along the way. I have been in the band for all 4 years of high school, as well as played trumpet, been on the dance team, and I served as drum major this past football season. Receiving this Youth of the Year scholarship would alleviate any burdens or financial problems that I would have throughout my undergraduate studies. After I receive my registered nursing license, I hope to be able to attend medical school to further my education and become a pediatric oncologist or a neonatologist.
We told you our future is in great shape. So, okay, next up is Phoebe Gentry.
My name is Phoebe Gentry. I'm a senior at Homewood High School, and I'm going to Emory at Oxford next year to study Spanish and Portuguese international studies. Right now, I'm one of the dance captains for our show choir here, and I'm serving my second year as the president of the Key Club and one of the presidents of the Spanish Club and Spanish Honor Society. I'm super excited about getting the scholarship. I really didn't expect it. I plan to use it to study at Emory so then I can study abroad. I want to study abroad so then I get a better sense of how people around the world live and how they deal with different situations. I think that with my degree, it'd be super cool if I could help developing countries and especially kids who lack education.
All right, our next honoree is Megan Goyle. Megan, can you come up?
Hi, my name is Megan Goyle. I'm a senior at the Altamont School. So at Altamont, I've been part of student government for the past 2 years. So last year I served as student government secretary and I'm serving as president this year. I am also part of the Myrie Ethical Leadership Center, which is a group at Altamont that high school students can join and pursue service projects. I am part of a group called Heritage Panel, which is run through the YMCA or YWCA. And we go into classrooms and do our panels on diversity and inclusion. We tell our own stories and we encourage these conversations to start happening in the Altamont community. I am so honored and grateful to have been chosen for the scholarship, and I plan to put the money towards college next year. I will be going to Dartmouth College next year, where I hope to double major in government and economics, and then pursue a life just filled with service and giving back to the world and the community around me.
Next, we have Bradley Seals. Bradley?
Hello, my name is Bradley Seals. I'm a senior at the Alabama School of Fine Arts, where I major in theater arts. I've been here since 7th grade, and it's always been my passion to be on stage and performing, because I believe that it's a God-given gift that I have, and it's like love to do it. So I try to pursue it with all of my heart. I've been on stage since I was 4. I started dancing and I started acting around the age of 8. And then at 12, I finally auditioned for ASFA and I got in. And I've been here ever since. I've applied to most of my schools as a musical theater major. Therefore, I've had a long college audition process that I have been accepted into most of my schools. And I've been accepted into the theater department for most of the schools as well. And I'm very excited about that. I believe that the one thing people cannot take away from you is education. What you learn is so valuable to you, and it's something that you keep forever. And I believe that wherever I decide to go, and I pray that I can use the money and I can use the opportunity that I've been given to pursue that education and gain that thing that no one can ever take away from me. So yes.
All right, every year we have these great honorees and all of them, as you can see, are very impressive, but we have one overall Youth of the Year scholar. And this year, our Youth of the Year scholar is Ariana Colvin.
My name is Ariana Colvin. I go to Ramsey High School and I'm involved in the track team and I'm involved with the Youth Leadership Development Program. The Youth Action Council, I tend to do a lot of community service activities such as with the Youth Action Council, we're responsible for creating our own community student-run based community service project. My group is the environmental group, and we're working on a cleanup at the Memorial Park and river cleanups as well. I plan on going to UA. I'm still considering Purdue, but that's still to be decided. But I plan to go into engineering. I don't know which type yet, but I'm leaning towards mechanical engineering because it's the broadest of all of them, and I can go into any field of engineering I want with a mechanical engineering degree. I'm actually very excited. Our counselor was the one that recommended this. And I'm pretty new to applying scholarships, even though I've applied for a lot of them. So I was really trying to make sure I got everything in there. And I was a little nervous, but I was really excited for the results.
Scholars, we wish all of you luck as you continue your education, and we hope that you are successful in pursuing all of your dreams. We know you will be. We look forward to having you back in Birmingham with us one day, and hopefully at the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham. Maybe you will get to speak again up here, like Senator Jones will be speaking with us today.
Yes, congratulations again. And we look forward to seeing all of the success that you have in your future. So we wanted to have a special thank you for our 2022 Youth of the Year Committee. So if you'll stand when I read your name: Travis McGowan, Nan Priest, Ty West, David Hicks, Jerry Kelly, Ben Puckett, and Alan Lott. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Jennifer and Shannon. That was awesome. Congratulations to our scholars and the family and friends that are with y'all today. And I do know that the Kiwanians that are getting to sit at y'all's tables are probably more excited to be near y'all than maybe y'all are even to be here. It's pretty powerful stuff. So with that, I would like to ask Class Secretary John Saxon to introduce today's speaker.
As past chair of the Youth of the Year Committee, let me congratulate all of you and especially Ariana. I am honored to be introducing my friend of more than 40 years today, Doug Jones. Doug is a native of Fairfield. He's the son of a steel worker and a homemaker. And at Fairfield High School 50 years ago, he was named this club's Youth of the Year. By the way, Doug told me, Lee, that he got a trophy, but no scholarship. So y'all need to look into that. He went on to the University of Alabama, law school at Cumberland, went to work in Washington for Senator Howell Heflin on his Judiciary Subcommittee, where Doug and I shared an office 40 years ago. He returned home and was an assistant U.S. attorney for 4 years, went into private practice. In 1997, President Bill Clinton named him to be United States Attorney. And after Senate confirmation, he came back and began working with the FBI as they reopened some cold cases, particularly civil rights cases. And I think most of you know, maybe not the young folks, but Doug Jones successfully prosecuted 2 of the Klansmen who committed the horrific crime of bombing the 16th Street Baptist Church on September 15th, 1963. He returned to private practice, but in 2017, he felt a call to run for the U.S. Senate. There was a special election. Y'all recall, President Trump had named Jeff Sessions his Attorney General. Governor Robert Bentley appointed our Attorney General, Luther Strange, to the Senate seat. So Doug ran for the Democratic nomination, thinking if he won it, he would be facing Luther Strange. Well, he won his party's nomination, but Luther Strange didn't win his. So Doug faced off against former Chief Justice Roy Moore. And in a landslide of, 22,000 votes, Doug beat Judge Moore and went to the U.S. Senate. I could tell you the committees he was on and some other things, but perhaps the most important thing I can tell you, which shows you how true he is to the cause of racial justice, Doug initiated a practice of reading Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail on the floor of the Senate, breaking it into 6 parts, read by 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. And Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio has committed to continuing that practice. Doug ran for re-election in 2020, but as a Democrat running statewide in a red state, presidential year, popular president of the other party at the top of the ticket, it wasn't to be. After leaving the Senate, though, Doug has not been busy. He could sit on the creek bank and play with grandkids, but he has been a distinguished senior fellow at the Center for American Progress in Washington. He has been of counsel to the Arent Fox Law Firm. He has been a politics fellow at Georgetown University. And this spring, he was the Rappaport Distinguished Visiting Professor at Boston College School of Law. That wasn't enough. He got pressed into duty recently by our president, who asked Doug to be the Sherpa, the guide to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. He was her guide. If you saw the hearings right behind Doug, and I don't know how he sat still all that time or didn't glance down at his phone, but Doug guided her through 95 meetings with 97 senators. She was confirmed on a bipartisan vote. They picked up 3 Republican votes, and she will be, when Justice Breyer retires at the end of the term, the first African-American woman on the United States Supreme Court. It took 115 previous justices. And I was going to end about here, but I came into possession of something that's absolutely incredible. And you say, okay, Youth of the Year 50 years ago, prosecuted the Klansman, got the first African-American woman justice on the court. Can I connect those dots? I think I can. I want to read to you, I'm not going to read the whole letter, just a couple of excerpts from the letter written by the superintendent of the Fairfield school system to this club 50 years ago. And by the way, Doug, and I'm serious, it says in here that you were on the wrestling team in high school. Oh, yeah. Didn't do much good, but Tommy Tuberville did it.
But you better be careful.
Letter to Mr. C.H. Johns, Chairman, Youth of the Year Committee, Birmingham Kiwanis Club. I take great pride in recommending to you not only an outstanding student, but an outstanding young citizen of the city of Fairfield. This young man is Douglas Jones. I didn't know what I'm about to read. A lot of y'all may not either. Fairfield High School is the only high school in the state of Alabama, to my knowledge, that has been paired. If you're not familiar with this term, in short, it means that all the 9th and 10th grade students in the white school were sent to the black school, and all the 11th and 12th grade students were sent to the white school. I am sure you can imagine the manner in which this affected the different facets of the school: athletics, music, speech, as well as the academic program. The federal court saw the folly of this action and closed the black school, but not before the hostile feelings between the black and white students had been inflamed by this action. Now, fortunately, the student body president that year was Doug Jones. Listen to the rest of this. Doug has played a tremendous part in making this school operate with a minimum of violence and disturbance. His leadership between the races and among students has been most significant. The principal and teachers have depended upon Doug's help and judgment in many instances of inquiry. Because this young man has risen to this task of leadership in what certainly is not a normal high school situation, I feel that he deserves special consideration. And it ends, let me urge you to consider this fine young man as the recipient of your reward. I take special pride in presenting him for consideration, Don J. Bird, Superintendent. Folks, Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Doug Jones' life not only bends toward, but has been dedicated to justice. Let's give a warm Kiwanis welcome to our former U.S. Senator and your 1972 Youth of the Year winner, Doug Jones.
Thank you, John. Thanks very much. Let me say at the outset that despite all that I've done, I cannot avoid allergy bombs in the spring. So if you hear a croaky voice or I start coughing, you will understand. There's so many things you can do, but so many you can't. I actually, Lee, thought about bringing, I've still got that trophy. And I thought about bringing it, and I'm thinking to myself, no, what are folks thinking about some old guy walking across the street with his high school trophy? So I opted not to do that. Let me tell you how honored I am to be here. See a lot of old friends, a lot of supporters, and it's great to be back at home for a little bit. Been working out of the house for a little bit during this pandemic, We'll be on the road a lot more, but it is always good to be home in Birmingham, Alabama. And I want to give a special congratulations to those amazing kids that we saw the videos of a few moments ago. Just remarkable. And we see the promise of the future. You know, we talk about the church bombing cases a lot, and I'll often say when I talk about those cases, that you can see those children and to see their deaths at ages 11 and 14 and understand what we lose sometimes when we lose children. And we still lose far too many of our children for too many reasons in this day and age. I also want to send a congratulations to the parents. But for you, in many, many ways, a child wouldn't be here today. You provided that platform. You provided that basic. You have provided that kind of springboard for those children to be where they are today. They may not always tell you, but trust me, they love you, they appreciate it. I know that because out of all of the things that occurred to me on that day in the spring of 1972, in a Kiwanis Club in a Birmingham that was a far different place than it is today. This building did not exist as the Kiwanis and Rotary Club. I think it might have been a furniture store or something at the time. We had the meeting on top of one of the buildings on South Side. The Bank for Savings building there that now doesn't have that big sign, but some of you, the older folks in here will remember the old Bank for Savings signs where the lights were going on. The trophy was great, but seeing your name in lights that night was the big thing. Of course, my family will tell you that's unfortunately where this all started, seeing your name in lights and not wanting it to come down. But the fact of the matter is, the thing I remember most about that day was driving home. And my dad was talking about it, and I know I sound emotional, but I'm really just croaky. And I remember my dad's comments. He said, Doug, there's a lot of people that are looking to you to do good things. You have proven yourself, and you have been recognized for the leadership that you have done. But at this point, it's up to you. And that's the thing for you guys with these awards and for mom and dad. You're about to part ways, so to speak. Your parents have done about as much as they can do. They will always be there for you. They'll be there with their love. They'll be there sometimes with financial support. Try not to get too embedded in that. They will always be there for you for help and for advice. But at this point, you're about to leave the nest. You're about to go to college. You're about to start a new phase of your life. And where you go at this point is really going to depend on you and the road that you take. What really happens from this point forward depends on not just the base that you've been given by your parents and your friends and your relatives, but what's inside. What is your moral compass to do the right thing, to set your goals, but also for those around you? You know, we always try to look to others for inspiration and for hope. Our heroes, I had them, probably everybody in this room had heroes that they looked at. You know, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I always thought John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy were the political heroes of the day. We always look at those, and those are folks that have gone on to do great things, but heroes are right here in this room. Heroes are the local leaders who help propel Birmingham. Heroes are your parents that set you on and given you the advice that put you in this position. Heroes are your grandparents, your aunts and uncles. Sometimes your heroes are your best friend. It's no older than you are, simply because they help keep you grounded. But we really look a lot to heroes beyond. I was fortunate enough in the last 2 months to spend time with someone who has now become an inspiration to millions of people across this country. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, soon to be Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, has truly become an inspiration to so many people. As John mentioned, out of 115 Supreme Court justices that have gone before her in our almost 250-year history, there's never been a Black woman, never despite the contributions to our America, to our society, there has never been a Black woman. It took a long time for there to even be a Black woman on the federal bench. And even today, the numbers are just not what society is a reflection of. The President of the United States took a little grief for saying early on that he was going to nominate a Black woman. People were a little bit taken aback by that. But they didn't listen to the last part of his statement, that I'm going to appoint a Black woman who is exceptionally well qualified. There are a lot of people in this country that are qualified to sit on the United States Supreme Court. The two up here are not. The two lawyers at this table are not. But there are a lot of people who are. But the president, for whatever you think about him, saw and knew and understood in his core that the Supreme Court of the United States can affect so many lives, and people look to that court. They look to them not just for the laws they pass down, they look to them for the inspirations they can be. And until this summer, until next year when the court gets into place, they look up there and they did not see America. People talk about the erosion in confidence of the courts and the Supreme Court. It is in part because so many people in this country look at the court and they think, they don't know me. They don't represent me. Ketanji Brown Jackson was the product of high school teachers. Her dad went to law school later in life. She's a Main Street girl. That's how she grew up. Her parents went to HBCUs. Interesting thing for you folks in Alabama that didn't get a lot of publicity. Her mom went to Tuskegee. Her dad is North Carolina Central. Ketanji Brown Jackson, though, even in high school, was a champion debater. She loved to debate. And her debate team went to a tournament at Harvard. She didn't know that much about Harvard. She was trying to figure out where to go to college, but her parents didn't have the money to take her around like so many of you get a chance to do. She went to Harvard and fell in love with the school. And she came back and she told her guidance counselor, I think I want to go to Harvard. And her guidance counselor, well-meaning, I know, well-meaning, said, well, you know, honey, you might want to set your sights a little lower. But she persevered. And she didn't set her sights lower. And neither should you. And she graduated magna cum laude from Harvard University and cum laude from the law school. Recently, millions have found her an inspiration. I got asked yesterday on a program I did with John, what was one of the most surprising things about this whole process? And what really surprised me was how this very petite woman became an inspiration to millions. Not just the nomination, first Black woman, but her. The way she persevered through a really difficult confirmation here. The way she held her grace, the way she carried herself, the way she answered her questions. She became that inspiration. And I promise you, she is going to continue to be that inspiration. She is going to disappoint people on the left because she's not an activist judge. She is going to surprise people on the right because she is not an activist judge. But I predict that when the annals of the Supreme Court history are written, she will stand out among the best because she was not just a trailblazer. She will tell you that she stood on the shoulders of so many that have gone on before her. And so, folks, to the young people, while you can never take your eyes off of those like Judge Jackson and others that have achieved great things in life, who've made tremendous differences, I also want you to look around at your peers. I also want you to think you don't have to be 51 years old to make a difference in this world. You can find inspiration for change from those who have stood against injustice, those who took courageous stands, those who made a difference, not as older adults, but as teenagers and young adults. I say this because all too often, candidly, folks, to the older people in this audience, it's the youth who are looking ahead I think, Tim, you alluded to that. It is our youth who are looking forward, or looking, because they've got their whole life ahead of them. And all too often, we as parents and older adults tend to look in the rearview mirror. And we see things, and change often is something that frightens us. It was occurring in Fairfield, Alabama 50 years ago. My parents grew up in a different generation, and they were fearful of what they were seeing with school integration, even though the Brown versus Board of Education decision had been decided some 18 years earlier. Integration and desegregation of schools was slow to come, not just in Alabama in the South, but across the country. It was slow to come because parents, well-meaning parents, were concerned about that change. It was different. They weren't sure what to expect with their kids. They wanted the best for their children and their education and their futures. But you know, you kind of read through in what John talked about in what Superintendent Byrd said in his letter about me. The kids are going, what's the big deal? What is it up with this? We just want to be kids. We want to have a football team and a baseball team and a basketball team. And we want to have a choir that does great things. We want to have a band. We want to do all of those things that kids do. I don't understand all of this going on. And in Fairfield, like so many high schools around the country, it was the kids who made a difference in making sure that there wasn't the violence that you thought there might be. It was the kids who made a difference to get together to make sure that when somebody was running for that touchdown, you didn't care what color was under their helmet. You didn't care what color they were. This was Fairfield. Those are what those kids see. And they see, I can assure you today, still well-meaning parents. History does tend to repeat itself. We see it time and time again, where our parents and our older adults want to protect our kids so much from change. Today, we see this happening all around us. And it happens because sometimes as older adults, we just don't accept what's really happening. We see it happening across the state and across the country with regard to LGBTQ rights. We see it despite the fact that now our society has changed in a big way. We see it with transgender rights. And I can promise you, so many of our kids out there are going, what's the big deal? These are our friends. These are our contemporaries. These are people we care about. So the challenge, I think, for you, the youngsters, is to look at the folks in your age bracket or just a little bit older who have made the difference in their lives at the time. And you don't have to go far. We're right here in Alabama. We've got some of the great leaders that as youth really stepped up. Look at John Lewis. John Lewis was only 25 years old, only 7 years older than you are right now. When he got beaten by state troopers as he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge just to get voting rights. Look at the 4 girls that died in a bomb blast just simply because of the color of their skin in 1963. People remember the seamstress Rosa Parks and how important role she played for not giving up her seat. What they forget is 15-year-old Claudette Colvin did the same thing 2 or 3 months earlier. But she was just too young for them to really build that movement around. But she set that stage. People often in Alabama, we unfortunately celebrate the wrong things sometimes. So we keep talking about the stand in the schoolhouse door by George Wallace as if that was a grand statement. It wasn't. It wasn't. And people forget the 2 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids who walked through that schoolhouse door, Vivian Malone Jones and James Hood, and the abuse that they had to take and how they had to persevere. Vivian Malone Jones went on to be the first Black graduate from the University of Alabama. She went and worked at EPA. She was just recently inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Alabama Hall of Fame. She was 18, 19 years old. when she had the courage to walk through that door. And I'm going to tell you, if I had my druthers, I'd just do away with the term stand in the schoolhouse door and just do away with it. And let's talk about the walk through the schoolhouse door and the bravery of those two kids. And more significantly, the one thing that we talk about in this city, but I don't think that we celebrate enough, are the children who took to the streets of Birmingham in 1963, facing fire hoses and dogs. It was the kids. Adults were reluctant because they had jobs that they would lose. But it was kids, your age, just a little bit older, who sit there, and if you look at the photographs and you look at the videos, it was children, it was the kids of Birmingham who had got knocked down by the fire hoses, who got attacked savagely by the dogs. But those children's crusade started a movement that spread across America. I give speeches about the church bombing all the time, and I started with what happened in the spring of 1963. And I talk about the fact that those fire hoses, the dogs, the stand in the schoolhouse door, all of that really awoke the conscience of America. The good people here in Birmingham who stayed silent and let all of that happen. But now all of a sudden their consciences were awakened. Right now we hear too much about the quote woke left. But let me tell you, if it wasn't for an awakening of people, good people, some of whom are probably in this room, some of whom's fathers and mothers were a part of Birmingham, if they did not get woke at the time, where would Birmingham be? Where would Birmingham be? But where would they be without those kids who took to the streets? And what is often forgotten about the kids in Birmingham is that they really spurned a movement that spread to other cities. All across this country, and particularly in the South, the youth took to the streets for civil rights. And lo and behold, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. And in 1965, the Voting Rights Act was passed. We have come a long way. There is no doubt. I don't want anybody to think that I believe otherwise. I'm proud of where we have moved. I'm proud of the way that we have moved. I am a little disappointed that I think we have slid back a little bit. But I look at these youth. I look at the diversity of these youth in Birmingham, Alabama, and I see a bright hope. Because no matter what happens, folks, as we go forward, our country, our state is going to continue to get more diverse. We can listen to all the political ads you want to about building walls. We can build a wall all the way around the country. But because of the demographics in our country today, our country is going to be more diverse in the future. And it's these youth who are saying, so what? We're going to get along. We're going to succeed. We're going to make this country better. And I applaud you for that, but never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of your own moral compass and your internal compass. I never dreamed 50 years ago as I sat and I got my big trophy. I never dreamed that I could do some things or I would have the opportunity. Well, I dreamed. I never know if they would come true. To be able to do the things that meant so much to so many people with the church bombing, to represent voices that hadn't been heard in Alabama, from Alabama, the United States Senate for a long time, to escort and to help guide the first African-American female Supreme Court justice. Those were all pipe dreams. But stay true. Stay true to who you are, not anyone else. Stay true to who you are and follow your moral compass. And remember the words of Robert F. Kennedy. Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. Well, as you leave here today, remember, it's going to be up to you. I tell you to do exactly what my old buddy, the late John Lewis, said. Stand up, speak out, cause a little trouble, good trouble, cause a little good trouble, and do your part to write the history of your generation. Congratulations to all of you and to your parents. Thank you very much for having me.
Tell you what, we've got a few minutes before we hit the 1 o'clock. So I thought Doug could come back and maybe answer a question or two.
As one of my law school professors used to say, questions, comments, outburst of emotion. There probably a lot of you want to do that outburst of emotion thing, but anybody? Come on, kids. You didn't get these awards for not anything. Come on, Miss Goyle. I know you. Just so you know, Miss Goyle's brother was one of my nominees to the U.S. Naval Academy a few years ago. He's doing pretty well. So you're carrying on the tradition. Anybody? Okay, come on. Yes, sir. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I see trouble coming. Next. Turkey hunting this afternoon. I don't know. I get asked that all the time, but I'm doing a lot of things. I still have some unfinished business. It may not be as a candidate, but there's a lot of things I think that needs to be said and done. And now I look at what all is going on, and I think there needs to be some people standing up and speaking out, causing a little good trouble. So look for me to get in a little good trouble somehow, some way. Yes, sir. Well, now I got to be honest with you. I got that award and I did a lot of good things as a high school kid, but I did a lot of stupid things. So I think my older self would essentially say, what the hell were you thinking on so many things? Looking back, I think my older self would tell my younger self, don't get in a hurry. Just don't get in a hurry. Life has its way of making sure that things work. I mean, I was in my 60s before I got elected to the Senate. I really thought at one time I would be elected to public office at a really early age. Life just didn't turn out that way. But my life has also been a series of fortuitous events, from being able to get to be the U.S. Attorney, to the special election, to the Senate, to this Supreme Court nomination. And sometimes you just got to wait on the right moment. The key is being able to see that moment and understand it and be able to latch on to it a little bit and not be fearful. Babe Ruth said, that you're not going to hit any home runs if you just got a fear of striking out. You're going to strike out a lot, guys. You're going to strike out a lot, but you can make it. So good luck. Henry? Well, it's hard to say what improvements I would offer because, as you know, Henry, so much of what the department does is under cloak and dagger. I mean, it is not visible to everyone for a reason, and for some very good reason. I think that the department under Merrick Garland has, number one, restored some integrity to the department that I think got lost in the waning years of the previous administration. And that's I'm trying not to be political when I say that, but I can just tell you from, and you know this too, as an old alum from the department, so many career people were demoralized. They didn't know what was going on with the Justice Department. It had become so political. But you know, we look at the January 6th Commission and we see a lot of things happening, but that's a legislative body. And they issue subpoenas themselves and they can have press conferences and they can hold hearings. And the department doesn't work like that. I know that the January 6th events alone was the largest investigation the Department of Justice has ever undertaken. They've had 700 or 800 now indictments. And you cannot start with that kind of investigation except at the core and where the source is, and that the source was at the violence, where there were people breaking into the nation's capital, beating police officers with American flags, and they were whacking them. It was stunning to me to watch. And since that time, United States Department of Justice has found out over 50 states. They have really started focusing. And now I think what you're seeing is that gradual climb up the ladder. How far that ladder, how tall that ladder goes, I don't know. I think they're continuing to investigate, and we will continue to see. But what, to me, folks, was even more disturbing, I think, than the images of what I saw happen on January 6th has been the attempt to rewrite January 6th. That was really just a group of tourists that are coming through. And this has nothing to do with President Trump. It has everything to do with what happened that day and where things got out of hand. And if we're not careful, it can happen again, because we are in new silos, and people on the right don't believe the people on the left, and the people on the left don't believe the folks on the right. And everything now in our country is good versus evil. And that is a dangerous place to be. And I hope we can move. Yes, sir. Mr. Lightfoot. I don't know, when are you going to do a bronze sculpture on me? We were just talking about you last night, as a matter of fact, with one of your former lawyers. Well, I've got one book. I do have one book called Bending Toward Justice about the church bombing cases. And it's one I'm very proud of. It took a long time. And we're talking about another one, because I think the experiences over the last 3 years have really kind of solidified what I believe to be the future. I just don't, not completely sure how to get there, but the future, I believe, is a few more profiles and courage with people on the right and people on the left who are speaking out against their own sides a little bit and trying to pull this country back to where we've got a country that looks to actually get things done. Because right now, the political polarization in this country is as bad as it has ever been. The atmosphere in Washington, D.C. is as bad as it's ever been. So if I can have some way, if I can do anything to kind of help bring that together a little bit, that's what I'd like to do. But so there may be another book. I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, if you ever need any photographs or need me to pose, Warren, for your, y'all don't know this, but he's one heck of a sculptor. It's amazing stuff. The Chiseler, whatever. He, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor and others. He's really a remarkable talent that we've got right here in Birmingham. Not to mention that he was a pretty fair lawyer, Dan, at the time. Yes, ma'am. Well, keep in mind that forming relationships is important to potentially holding office. And I think that I tell folks all the time, what advice would you give to, if you want to be in elective office? And I always tell folks, do it for the right reason. Don't do it just to hold elective office. Remember, elected office are public servants. They work for you. They work for the public. So you got to go into it with the right frame of mind and the right head. It's not an ego trip. Well, hell yeah, it is. It's an ego trip. But it is not supposed to be that. It is supposed to be to do good things for people. I was fortunate enough with Howell Heflin and a number of other folks that I worked with that really showed me that public servants can do good things. And forging those relationships are very good, but you're not going to forge those relationships if you sit on your phone the entire time and you just get the same information thrown back at you that you want to hear. You got to get outside your comfort zone. You got to go sit at somebody else's table and talk to them and listen to their concerns and understand, not just listen to them, but understand where they're coming from, because that's the only way that we find common ground. And it's common ground that gets you in a better place that you can then represent people and be a public servant. And I also tell folks, just don't give up. Just don't give up. It takes a while to get there. But forging those relationships outside of your comfort zone, I think is the key, but it takes some internal fortitude. It's very easy for us to get in our shells and not talk to somebody that didn't look like us, talk like us, or even worship like us. If you get outside, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn an awful lot. That about it? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.